Hey, Brad here with another quick video. On the bench today, I've got a Robotron board set sent in by a good customer of mine, Anthony. I think this was a working board set. He just wanted me to go through it. I've done some other Williams work for him in the past, and just wanted to make sure everything was up to speed where it should be, ribbon cables and things like that. So he sent it in, went through it, went through everything. There was a couple good parts that we were able to keep, and have it all working on the bench here. It had probably about 30 hours of runtime on the bench down here. So I'll go over what we did to the boards, do a little gameplay, and get through the diagnostics, and then hopefully wrap this up pretty quick. So I'll switch over to the bench cam here. So there it is. We'll start back here. No power supply with this one, just the four boards. So here's the soundboard. I was able to reuse a couple of the capacitors. This board was recapped at some point with some good quality caps. I did have to rework some of the solder joints on those. There were some electrolytics here that I replaced with tantalum. Another one back here, and up here is a decoupling for the CPU. Put a reproduction label on the ROM, pulled the ROM and CPU and cleaned the legs on those. Of course, we've got all new Molex headers with the square pins, pulled the fuses and clean those up, and I crimped these little friction holders for the fuses so they have a real tight grip on the fuses. Put new heatsink compound in the amplifier and the voltage regulator here. Tightened up all the screws on that so everything's good and tight. I also replaced the bridge rectifier for the board. Um, I always return all the parts as I've shown in other videos. So here's the bag with all the ribbon cables and Molex headers and caps and all kinds of other junk that I take off the boards. Um, moving back here. So this is a ROM board. This actually has a strange color on these ROM labels. They're yellow with green font. And then they have this kind of blue smear of paint on them or ink or something. But this is actually a blue set, interestingly enough. One of the ROM labels here had been replaced and just had some blue painter's tape on it. I did make a reproduction label for those with the yellow and green font. Someone had replaced ROM 1 here with an earlier version, which is a shared set. ROM 1 here was the same between the yellow and orange and the blue, as long as they were the B-type ROMs. The early yellow and red stripe had A ROMs, which were the 2532s, and then later the B ROMs were the 2732s. So this is a 2732. So anyway, pulled all the ROMs, cleaned the legs, pulled both of the special chips here, the blitters, cleaned the legs, put a little deoxit. We've got new filter caps here, electrolytics, all new Molex headers with the square pins, and of course, new ribbon cable, all 3M parts that I make up in house. I/O board, two new 10-pin Molex headers there, new Nichicon filter cap for the 5 volts. We've got a new ribbon cable. Again, I make those in house. Everything's rock solid. Back here on the MPU. So this customer sent in, he's got a NV RAM module here. Not one I've seen much, but again, it's got good components and seems very well built. So we did reuse that. Um, on this board, it still had some remnants from the old battery holder here and was a mess. So I removed the holder and all the little jumpers, and I filled the holes with solder, nice and smooth and nice. Um, Cleaned up all the RAM. This board did get fully stripped down and a simple green bath, so it was pretty dirty. So it turned out real nice. I polish it with a little silicone rag when I'm done. We've got new filter caps here. Nichicon put a new tantalum here for the soft start, an axial lead, new Molex headers in all 3 locations there. What else did we do here? I'm trying to think. Not a whole lot. Again, the decoders were pulled, CPU was pulled, legs straightened, cleaned up, little deoxit, reseated, real nice. So um, we'll switch over and do a little gameplay. Get that back there. And there we go. So you should see the game screen, just some artifacts on there from the CGA to VGA converter. I mentioned this in most of the videos, but I have a little remote control on my bench. It just turns the AC power on and off for the transformer. So I'll go ahead and turn that on and we'll boot the game. Got a nice rug pattern here. Again, that's the RAM tests, just writing data out to the RAM and then reading it back. And whatever's in the RAM ends up getting rendered. Sorry, I got to plug in the audio so you guys will have that. I had it hooked up to an actual speaker here. So Yeah, whatever's in the RAM gets written out to the screen. So when they do that RAM test, it's just writing data there to read it back, and um, what you're seeing is a visualization of that RAM test. So you can see it booted right into track mode, and the customer has his track message on there. I didn't. I actually was able to back up the data that was in his NVRAM using FPGA Catbox. So I provided that file to him, a binary file with the backup of the CMOS. I do have backups like for Joust from LAN with the high score set, and he has given me permission to write that into other people's boards if they're interested. So let me go ahead and jump into diagnostics here. All ROM's good, no RAM errors, no CMOS errors, which in this case is that MV non-volatile RAM. Sound test. And then it just loops around. And then in switch tested, I do go through with a Splat ROM board, and I test all 18 inputs on these I/O boards. For Robotron here, there's a limited number. You've got 4 for the move direction and 4 for the shoot direction, and then so there's all the move up, down, left, right. And then there, of course, there's the player 1, player 2 start, player 1 start. And then coming in on the ROM board for inputs is like the coins and then your 3 diagnostic switches. I've got 2 of those mapped here auto up. When I hit the advanced, we're going to leave the screen. So color RAM test. Here's where you get the grid lines to set your convergence for your monitor when you're working on it if you need to. A lot of guys now are using a little handheld TPG, it's called, test pattern generator. It's a little easier, so you can do it on the bench. You don't need all the game boards here, but in the game, if you want to check your adjustments, you can pull up these screens through the diagnostic menus. We get a solid red, solid green, solid blue. Get color bars here, and then some bookkeeping data and settings. And again, this is where that high score message is set. You can set coins, free play, all that kind of stuff through here, and then back to your track screen. So let me coin it up here, and we'll hit start. Again, I've got a little PlayStation controller here that I use. Oh. So we'll leave it here. You can see it's playing just fine, and I'll hit a reset on this, just kind of call the audio. So this game did have the runtime, as I mentioned. It's about 30 hours on the bench, so it's all burned in, no issues. It's rock solid, and I'm going to get it boxed up here today and taken over to the UPS store and on its way back to its cabinet so the customer, Anthony, can enjoy it. So thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you on the next one.